Well, Chael, if I ever send you some information, don't ever accuse me of making an April Fool's joke again.
What? Okay, no, you're talking about Craig Jones versus Gable Steveson. Nobody would believe that that's true. You want to know what? I just had an interesting thought, and maybe you've already had this, but it just came to me last night. Jon Jones brought in a band of misfits for his last group of cornermen, but he brought in Gable and he brought in Gordon Ryan. At some point, Gable and Gordon would have found each other. They just at some point they just would have. Did you hear anything about that?
About how they went down?
Yes.
Oh, well, we are on camera and filming, but I believe actually you'd be inclined to know that actually maybe certain members of that would try and avoid that incident happening just so they could save their ego.
Really?
I think some of those guys are maybe a little bit more weathered than they'd like to be at this age of their life and stuff.
I feel as though I know Gordon well. Gable's at that age where he's going to do anything. He's going to play football. He's going to do MMA. I caught him ice skating one time. That's not a joke.
That's hilarious.
No, it was this monster out of it. It was awesome. I actually videoed it. Yeah. But here's my point. At some point, Gordon is going to find him. Yeah. He's going to find. It works like the, hey, how you doing? But hey, you're looking.
Every fighter at 3 a.m.
Right, all of a sudden he's got your wrist. And all of a sudden he's over here. Hey, did you hear about this new move? Yeah. And then Gable's got to defend it. And the next thing you know, they're on the ground. And I mean, I'm just saying, what's going to happen between Gable and Craig is so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating for so many reasons. Not to mention, they do have you're going to have a winner. So what if Gable just gets position, which Craig has already said I'm going to give him? Like, there's ways to lose this match without being the worst grappler. There's ways to still lose the match. I think it's very fascinating.
I think Craig's just going to take enough drugs that it will come out of his system into Gable's paws and then get him to lose the fight that way.
Didn't Craig give Gable too much time, though? I mean, this is a totally different thing. You're the Olympic champion. I'm Craig Jones. Like, there's a different thing. He gave him 3 months. 3 months, according to Rickson Gracie. Now, I'm going back in MMA terms, but Rickson Gracie himself said 3 months. If you had a high school wrestler that could get on top, you could show him to land elbows.
But what if I said to you, Craig Jones, right now, is training with the interim heavyweight champion of the UFC?
I would want to see that. He's in England right now.
He's in England right now with Tom.
Really?
Yes.
Now, are they just doing a clinic together, or
they're working? They're going to work. They're going to learn, see if they get on each other, if they get well, and then basically Craig Jones will find a way to upset Gordon Ryan if it kills him, and if Tom is going to fight Jon, he wants to be in Tom's corner.
Oh my God, I didn't even think. Jesus, you're right. You're right. Have you ever touched Craig Jones?
I have, in many ways, actually, but yes.
I mean, do you agree with me? It does not feel like touching a normal man.
No, I think those guys, those real lifelong jiu-jitsu guys, they just develop a dense sort of muscle that you just can't get, and their grip just becomes so strong that those are the ones that when you start playing around with, immediately you're like, oh, okay, well, we don't need to fuck around.
That's right.
You know?
But Craig Jones' style, and I would give it to Gordon, I personally extend it to Gary Tonin as well, who had you done this 3 years earlier, that order might be Tonin on top. But I'll just tell you, it's a different game. Like when I've played with Craig, or whatever you want to call it, I've competed against Craig, if you want to call it that. But it doesn't feel the same. When you grab Craig, it's not the same. When you're on top of Craig, it's not the same. It's a different feel. It's a foreign feel. I've been to 3 Abu Dhabis before, and wrestled my whole life, and I go through practice. I'm just saying, I thought whether I could deal with it, but feeling it, being aware of where I was a distant memory for me. I thought. But it's different, and I've done workouts with Gordon Ryan too, and Gary Tonin. They have a different feel.
Moving on from one of your favorite guys in Craig
you wanted to move on from the. What, are you bored with that? You're the one.
I like Craig, but
I'm the one that sold this idea.
I'm selling it for Craig right now. I'm saying, Craig, you should CJI2, Craig Gable Stevenson. Which sport is gayer, jiu-jitsu or wrestling? We're going to find out that night.
Hey, I guarantee, Craig. I would love to talk to Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall's a beautiful. Have you been around him?
Oh, yes, I have.
Oh my God, he was so big. He looked so good one time that I went over and told him that, with heterosexuality in my background, but I still
unlike with Craig.
I didn't even say to him. I said, Tom, his dad was sitting. I said, are you always this big? I mean, he had these traps coming down his arm. He's got these tattoos and what. He looked like a world champion would look. He looks like the way you want your world champion to look. Aspinall's different, man. He's a special animal.
Did you see Jon Jones on the moped in Thailand?
Yes, I did. Drunk.
What do you reckon? Maybe more, but what do you reckon?
At least not sober. And you know what? I think I'm bragging about Jon. How many years have we all just wanted him to get an Uber? Like, go out, have your fun, let someone else drive. It was actually, because I would have liked to seen Jon Jones with a helmet on. Right. It is very possible the way this Jon Jones story ends is something like that, and he gets in a wreck and he wasn't wearing a helmet. Like that, like he lives just dangerous enough that is possible. And I do wish that he was a little bit more careful.
Do you think he's ducking Tom?
No.
You think that fight happens?
100%. And it will happen this year. I believe I could go a little further and tell you this.
I think I could as well.
In New York.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Well, we went there. Yeah. So going from Craig and Tom to my third favorite athlete to bring up to you, Dan.
Can we stay on that for just a second?
Please.
I never miss an opportunity to be my usual dick of a self towards Jon.
That's what I was aiming for, really.
Yeah, I just don't feel that's happening here. I don't believe. Let me just give you a timeline. Jon beats Stipe, Aspinall's in the ring. The only thing we know about interim champion, because I mean, we will change the rules as we go in this sport, we're well aware, but one thing that we know about interim champion is the interim champion is the number one contender. The interim champion will compete with the undisputed champion. If for some reason that doesn't happen, they switch chairs. You are now the undisputed champion. I mean, that is why this works. That's why there's no conversation. The built-in leverage is in front of everybody. Not what happened here. And Jon comes out of the ring, and he starts talking about $40 million. And just to remind you what had happened, there was a rumor that came out, whether it's true or not, but at that point, Mike Tyson had fought the Paul brother the night before. Right. There was a rumor that Paul got $40 million. So Jon just had this number in his head. So he just throws the same number out that TMZ had reported that Paul got. It was a random, arbitrary number. And that one interview, though, has led the world to believe that Jon, behind the scene, what Jon says right there doesn't matter. What matters is when he gets that phone call, says, "This is Dana, here's what I want to do with you, my champion." If you, that yes or no in that moment, but that's the moment that gets tested. And I do not believe that that moment ever came and that Jon Jones said no or that Jon Jones said $40 million. I think he had his fun with the media, and I think he's just waiting for them to say a date. And when they do, I believe Jon Jones will show up.
Last one from me. Did you see Dan Hooker held a 32-man super heavyweight tournament in his back garden this weekend?
Okay.
1 minute fights.
It's hard to say who my favorite fighter is. Like, it's a hard thing to. But if
we were talking about you,
if it's not Dan Hooker, I would be curious who it is. If he is not the, and now he's becoming interesting. On top of that, I don't know what he was doing. He had some tough old boys back there, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I was there. I landed today from New Zealand.
Well, I saw that big heavyweight one where the guy knew what he was doing. And when he's dipping into the body, and he was dipping into the body, and then finally he's like, "What's up?" And the dude pops up and knocks him out. Oh my God, but those were tough dudes. The dude that was taking those body shots, he had composure. He didn't have the most experience, but he had composure. The guy that was giving them, he had a level of, stand up with anybody was a silly thing. But my point to you by telling you that is, yes, I know all about it, I watched it, and only Dan Hooker would put that on. You know how fast I would be arrested? They would have put me in handcuffs. Dan Hooker becomes a freaking internet star with it. Some guys play by a different set of rules. Hooker happens to be one of them.
Thank you, Chael.
What is your hurry?
He just told me to wrap up. He told me to wrap up.
You haven't even plugged anything.
He told me.
Ultimate Fighter?
Oh yeah, the Ultimate Fighter is here.
Chael Sonnen, Big Star.
I was drinking your version of the drink they offered. I was on your team.
DC. That stands for Daniel Cormier. He was in the UFC. This is the guy that beat Pat Cummins.
Oh,
he deserves more respect. He was pretty good this year.
Allegedly,
he had with the wrestling. He was in college.
Allegedly, Pat Cummins made him cry though.
The takedowns and stuff.
Yeah, he flipped people over.
Yeah.
Who had the better street fight, you and Vanderlei or him and Jon?
Him and Jon. And you want to know why? Do you remember the great Dave Sossler? I mean, Dave was one of these great. Dave goes down, takes no bumps for it because everybody thinks it was Anik. Yeah. To this day, they think it was Anik. It was that single moment that made this so great.
And also, DC threw a shoe at him.
Yeah.
You didn't do that to Vanderlei.
Somebody said something about biting. But there was two fights. There was a Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and there was some biting. And I think that's where Mike bit Lennox. Yes. I think. But
bit him on the ankle.
Said something about biting. And
out of the two of them, I'm going to lean towards Jon.
You to plug the Craig Jones thing? I mean, you came here with such an agenda.
He pays me in kind, but it wouldn't be money.